Hello and welcome to Net That Haul. We're back from the international slump for the Game Week 13 Matchup show. I'm, of course, FPL Nima, and I'm joined by my co-host, FPL Mariner, back from 5 weeks, I think, and Gabriel at FPLLens. Good to see you, chaps. How you doing? How's the kind of return to FPL for you guys?
Well, I've just opened my team today for about the first time in, I don't know, 11 days. Yeah, more flags than the United Nations, but there's nothing new there. So another 8 incoming. What a clown I am. But how are you, Gabe?
I'm still here. Still here. After international break, I'm good. I'm great. Really excited again, and there's a lot of buzz in the chat, so really excited to dive right in here.
Yeah, I think we'll go straight into the show. But obviously, we have the philosophy first. And right before that this week, we just want to thank every single hauler out there for the huge win. Obviously, on the thumbnail, if you're listening on pod, you can't see it right now. We were at the FCAs 2023 Football Content Awards Gold winner, Best in Fantasy Football Podcast. Unbelievable. Thank you all for your support. This would not have been possible without all the votes, honestly. Like, I know it's 50-50 voting and judging, but the votes, you guys got us there. So thank you for your loyalty and your support. 3 years in, 3 consecutive finals, never a podium finish. And all we wanted was a bronze, like in a little certificate. I would have been so happy. But instead, we got the whole trophy. Suddenly, I'm up on stage in front of 500 people having to give a speech. Wasn't prepared for that, Gabe and Chris. So I just kind of thanked you both and got out of there as quick as I could. Now, I've got the video, and one day I'll edit it, maybe next week on Net That Haul or something. But for now, I'm just still processing what happened and what I said on stage. So thank you all for your support. Huge win. Haulers, this is it. We're going to get green arrows this week. Let's do it. How about you guys? I mean, how was the win from your side?
My camera's just actually just probably... Yeah, well, so my camera has just probably done what happened to you on that night. It's gone all blurry. I reckon your night had gone all blurry after we won the award, right? Nima, your night went all blurry after we won the award, correct? Like my camera now. Has he gone? Where's he disappeared to? Can anyone hear me?
I can.
Bloody hell, I don't know what's going on anyway. Sounds like he's lost his sound. But anyway, no, I mean, look, with all honesty, and again, you know, this was only it was an initial thought. Well, why not do something? And then Gabe, you came along, didn't you? And we started off just me and you, and then we brought in. We had a few, and we've had loads of people on. I'm just trying to think right back at the early days. People like FPL Banger, Joe, and the guys from Asia, because obviously I was out there. Then obviously you were obviously ever present, and then Nima comes along and he's now disappeared, so he can't even revel in it. For the first time ever, John Terry's actually missing out on celebrating anything, right? Because he is our John Terry. But actually he deserves it because he was number 3 in, and then obviously Hibbo joined us for a while. And he moved on to other things, but you know, another one who needs to take some credit for it, and not to mention all the guests and also all the haulers. And I don't think we can really underestimate just how loyal the gang have been, and I think that's the thing which stands out for me. It makes it all worth it. And there's been some tough times. And we're still in it, actually. We're still finding it very difficult to get everything done. It's the first time I've been back for 5 weeks. And now we're missing for another 2 weeks, but then you're going to be sick of seeing me over Christmas.
There we go.
And what about you? Tell us what you think, Gabe. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, so I just it felt surreal and ridiculous. like it didn't feel like reality, you know? And I'm driving and I got my kids in the car and I'm all of a sudden my phone just starts exploding. I'm like, wait, what's happening? And I'm at a red light and I'm like, no, this someone's pulling my chain. Like this can't be right. And then, but after I had time to like have it settle and process it a little bit, And I was thinking like this is something like, of course we're super proud of the content that we do and the discussions we generate and stuff like that, or else we wouldn't do it. But I think even beyond that, or equally so, this is just a testament to the loyalty of the haulers and our followers, because in this case the minority was louder than the majority, and I like that speaks to my personality. I love when the little guys get a vote, or the little guys and girls get a voice. I mean, so that's how it felt to me, that just like the little ones, us little old Net That Hall and our crew having a voice, and it was good to experience that.
I mean, look, I was going to say, Gabe, if there's one thing that actually rings true about Net That Hall, is someone's got audio. Somebody's audio is knackered. And today it's Nima. It's not you, Mr. Crackle. Today it's Nima. So apparently, look, just for the people who are actually listening to this, he can't hear. He can't. I don't think you've got your audio back yet. Unless you are you there yet?
Can you hear me?
Is he back? Yeah, I can hear you now, but you'd gone for a while. I don't know what was going on. But as I was saying, there's just always something that goes wrong on the show. But look, I just wanted to come back to you. How drunk did you get? Come on.
No, I just mainly had beer, right? So I was having lager, and they wouldn't let us get some at certain points. They're like, you got to wait 10 minutes and watch some of the show. And it was like 2 hours long, and there was so many categories. So by the time it came to our turn, and I will share the speech in the Discord for everyone, by the time it came to our turn, I was already like way not ready for that. So that was interesting. We had a great night. We played table football with some of the other guys from the other channels. So I just want to quickly kind of shout out all those guys as well. So I'll come back to the philosophy. Just a shout out to everyone who was a finalist as well. Best in editorial. Just shout out to all of our friends, all about FPL. Took the gold. Congrats. That was incredible, right? So couldn't believe that. And then Best in Fantasy Football podcast was us. So that's wild. FPL Pod, the official show, was second. That's crazy as well for me. With someone who's hosting it and was on the BBC covering the World Cup as a commentator. So we feel so humbled, honestly. And then above average, our friends Baker and Adam, congrats to them as well for their win. And then we've got video. So this was a competitive category. We've got our friend Mate there, Dan, got the bronze. Big win for him, Chris. I'm sure you'll all be happy to hear. I'll start circulating that photo of you and Mate doing chummy stuff a few years ago when you used to have a top 3-digit rank, Chris. Do you remember those days?
It's a long time ago that I could play FPL, mate.
When you could play good, yeah, I remember. We both suffered since then. Hopefully this week will be a green arrow for everyone. But yeah, shout out to everyone.
Well, maybe.
The silver in the video as well, the FPL fan show. Congrats to them, and Holly Shand in the gold. So incredible.
There you go, Neiman. There's an important point. Grimsby won 2 of the 3 awards.
I know, it's crazy, right? Holly and
that crazy? Grimsby win nothing normally. 2 awards, both from Grimsby.
Crazy. So you asked how drunk I got. I guess here's some photos for anyone on YouTube. If you're on podcast, check it out. Timestamps 8 minutes for these photos. This was just obviously on the stage when I then suddenly had to go up and give the speech, and I'm just thinking about what I'm saying as it comes out. We've got Surya on the stage with the All About FPL Gold. That was a nice capture. We've got all the FPL crew here as well on the bottom left. We've got Mate, FPL Fan Show, FPL Harry, FPL Raptor, Prass, me, All About FPL. So we all went together. That was good fun. We've got Emma Jones, the host, trophy on stage, official photos just dropped. And then me and Surya with our journey together. I picked up his Surya's bronze certificate 3 years ago at the FCAs. When we were just a finalist, we didn't get a podium finish. Then the second year, he was, silver last year in Manchester. And this year he got gold. And so fitting that me and Surya both got the gold together, because I used to write for All About FPL, as you know, and it's lovely to see the journey he's taken it on. Incredible site, free to use for everyone as well. So well done to Surya, our friend at All About FPL.
He was a guest with Net Hall many times. He was almost basically a co-host
on the first season,
for a
right?
while.
Yeah, he was, and we should. It was remiss of me not to mention him. One thing I would say, Nima, before we move on, we really must get on with the philosophy. But the last thing I'm going to say about it is, I wager that if we hadn't have got a top 3 place, you'd have collected Holly's prize. John Terry.
You just know I'm notorious for picking up prizes every year, right? I've not shared the photos here, but on my tweets there was a photo, right, of me with all the people who won in the first year in London. And I was like in the middle and Johnny was on the side. And me and Johnny were there just for the photo, having a great time. Everyone else won, right? Back then, Chris, the owner of Scout, he had 2 of these trophies. And he had them in the photo like Mickey Mousey as either side. So he was balling it out. You know, our friends at the FPL Wild won that year, best podcast. So shout out to them as well. And our other friends always cheating won it previously. So it feels great to kind of have that and know that after seeing Brandon and Josh recently in London at their meetup. And it's just nice to see the FPL community really growing and becoming more of an offline thing as well now that we're kind of coming out the other side of the pandemic. So hope anyone who's into FPL, you don't have to be a content creator. If you're enjoying just playing and watching and talk to people about it, go to the FPL meets in your city. There's one in London this weekend. First game, City v Liverpool, and then Brentford v Arsenal at 5:30. So see you at the FPL meets.
Still waiting for the one in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Waiting for the one in Phoenix.
This weekend, is it? Damn it. I'm in Manchester. Anyway, never mind. Right. Let's go. What? Not that one. Wrong way. Where is it? There it is.
Okay,
Come on in, Gabe.
Philosophy. We're here. We made it. We thanked everyone.
We're here.
And everyone in the space. All our friends.
Now it's time to get that blank look on Mariner's face with the FPL philosophy of Gameweek 13. Courtesy of Emily Dickinson this week. She wrote, "The soul should always stand ajar, ready to welcome the ecstatic experience." So that I think this relates. I think this, for me, this relates both to the win for us, where actually to the whole method with which we've always approached this show, like Mariner, Nima, you and I. It's always been like just super open. Like whatever happens, like we're very open with one another and we're very honest about our situations. And we're like, and that's why like when something goes wrong on the show, we never get upset. We can laugh at it. It's part of the ecstatic experience. So that's like on a personal note for the show. I think the quote relates on that front. And then to FPL, it's again a shout at just like learning from each game week, because that's where the real fun is in acquiring, like refining our skills, like getting that new knowledge and like maybe learning something new, learning something about a player. That what's up, Mariner?
Well, it's bollocks, isn't it? How have I ever learned? I once had 122 rank. I'm now ranked at 1.1 million. How can I have learned anything in the last 2 years?
Well, obviously, your soul has not been ajar, Mariner. You've been closed like a friggin' clam. Maybe that's the problem. If you take the philosophy in, then maybe you'll have more of an ecstatic experience and learn these lessons and bring the good players in.
I'm gonna have to start reading
That's
books.
The philosophy.
It's not good. But you're absolutely right. It's complete.
You've proven the philosophy for the week. Thank you. That was a great example.
The other thing I would say is the only ecstatic experience I've had with FPL in the last few weeks is reading Hindu Monkey's tweet from today. It's the funniest tweet I've seen in such a long time. I think it's the only fun I've had this year with FPL. Anyway, you must check that out. There's loads of swearing in it. We're not allowed to swear, apparently, because otherwise we get an X-rated, I nearly said effing podcast, but anyway, I better not. Right. Let's keep going, Nima. Over to you now. Steer the ship.
All right, we'll go back to the matchups. We'll actually get the summary up on screen 13 minutes in for anyone on podcast who wants to see the entire matchups for the week ahead. I think from here, we're not really going to talk about it much because we'll call this out at the end of the individual matchups. And this is all the data you're about to see for the rest of the show for the individual matchups, but in one summary to come back to when you're making your FPL decisions. So 14 minutes in, come back to this and we'll call out some summaries at the end for sure in terms of the next 5 game weeks and assets who might be relevant based on the matchups that are coming up. So from there, should we just go to the first game, the big blockbuster game to return us from international break, Man City versus Liverpool. What an exciting game for the podcast listeners. So 1.95 net XG for Man City, 1.08 for Liverpool. Why don't you start and take us away, Gabe? Bring us back from the international break lulls.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one because I mean, we can think back to their past encounters, but I think, yeah, we just start with the stats. And I thought it was interesting that we do view Liverpool as one of the best attacking teams in the league, right? And their their data is quite low against Man City, and partially is I think the main reason is Manchester City at home, right? None of the zonals pop, but like Manchester City's data is popping, at least the net XG is popping, because net XG takes factors in like the form in terms of goals scored as well. And it says in the slide here, 16 goals scored from a 6.51 non-penalty XG. And they've only had one pen in that time. So obviously the center zone will always pop for Man City. But the one thing we talked about with Lucien yesterday was the influence of Bernardo Silva, and what I wanted to mention here is something that's come up is I think the increased influence of Bernardo Silva has kind of cannibalized Julian Alvarez, and that's why so Bernardo, like what Lucien said is that Manchester City kind of waits for Bernardo Silva to initiate the creativity before reacting, and then what happens is the ball gets pushed forward. They're usually against a deep block. And it's Bernardo Silva's late trailing run that'll initiate kind of like a second phase of attack in the box, and that kind of dynamic is leaving Alvarez kind of on the sidelines when it, not literally, but when it comes to like chances and being around goals. So I think many managers, myself included, are considering an Alvarez sell. I know Mariner is. Why don't you tell us? What are you thinking, Mariner, in terms of...
Yeah, I definitely think about selling him. Yeah, for 100%. I mean, I just think he's... And I'll just put my fixture difficulty on very quickly so you can see that as well. And, even the longer range Manchester City, we'll see the five game week out in a bit. They're not that good at the moment with respect to the matchups, but this matchup's particularly not good from the perspective of fixture difficulty. For Manchester City, it's pretty low at 0.9 for attack, right? And that's against Liverpool away. So Manchester City's FDR is much better away from home than it is at home at the moment. Quite perversely, oddly enough. So look, from my side of it, I think the XG matchups have dropped for City, and of course they share their XG out, or Haaland gobbles it if not. But from my side of things, I'm seriously considering an Alvarez sale. Yeah, seriously considering it. And it's for Solanke, just to let you know. We will come on to him later, but that's who I'm looking at.
So quick question, like on you mentioned the XG and it's up there, right? 6.51 in six home. I think they played 6 home matches, right? Man City have played 5 home matches. So about like 1.25, 1.5 XG per home match. But how do you square the fact that they've scored 6? How many did I say? 619? No. They've scored 16 goals from that XG.
From that XG. Yeah. So it's
the FPL
like anything,
will always
isn't it?
be low, but they get so much out of it.
I think the thing is that we've always said this, haven't we? If we look at the matchups for City, you always say even if the matchups are not bright green, they're just elite finishers. We've been saying that for a long time, haven't we? But I still say that I think for the money that Alvarez is, he's not that expensive. But if I can save $500,000 to start sorting some of the rest of my team out, and Solanke's fixtures are good. I really like them.
Solanke. There's so much to like there. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Nima, do you have Alvarez? You don't have Alvarez, do you?
No, I've got Watkins and Archer.
Yeah, and then the other thing is what is it? Game week 18 will be upon us soon enough. So selling Manchester City assets kind of works in our favor on that front as well. Just to switch over to the Liverpool side really quickly, I think it would behoove Klopp to come out and kind of a conservative game plan with every outlet ball just as quickly as possible to Salah, and then kind of have Salah go one-on-one. But I have a feeling that Salah will be used kind of almost in a similar way. Do you remember when Everton beat Brighton? What was it, 5-0 or 5-1 at Brighton, right? At the MX, and it was McNeil on the left-hand side was used for every counter-attacking outlet. It was like hit McNeil wide, and then hit I forget who was playing. And hit Calvert-Lewin, right? Moving forward, I think Liverpool could do something similar against Man City here, where they play quickly out to Salah. If Salah has a 1v1, great. But otherwise, if he doesn't, then it'll be Darwin Nunez kind of running into those spaces, and Salah could turn more creator rather than goal scorer if the game plays out that way. For that reason, I would kind of, like, if we're talking captaincy, and obviously we'll get to the metric at the end, I would favor Manchester City. I would favor Haaland over Salah because of the goals that Manchester City kind of squeeze out of very low XG, and because Haaland will be, I expect, will be more goal scorer than Salah. Never discount a pen for Salah, of course.
Okay, so should we move on? Should we move on to the next one? I don't think there's any questions.
Yeah. We'll start the questions as we go, guys, and at the end of the show we will come to them. And players in this match are going to be in the captaincy metric discussion as well, for sure. So I think we're doing good for time. We're making it back up now. 6 minutes. This game deserved it. The next game we'll discuss, but I think we might try and keep that one to 5 minutes. So we got Burnley versus West Ham is the next game. Net XG of 2.15 for West Ham, which is pretty good, but obviously it's bad news about Bowen, depending on who you believe on Twitter, and 1.47 net XG for Burnley. So, yeah, what do you think about this game tactically? And I guess with Bowen, it seems like he will at least miss this game week from the sounds of things, right? It's like fluid in the knee is what the source is saying, but that could still need further scans. And, is he going to play in 4 days? I don't think so, but it might not be serious. So that's the thing. You got to make a decision. Do you keep him? But this is the blockbuster fixture. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about what would happen to West Ham with or without Bowen in this game tactically.
I'll start with the injury because coincidentally, I'm currently, like right now, recovering from fluid in my knees, in my left knee. So now my recovery is going to be totally different from Bowen's. But what's key when you have fluid in the knee, and this is something that none of us know, is what the color of that fluid is, and that'll indicate kind of the source of the fluid. So if the color is like a yellowish color, like the plasma of the blood, then that means there wasn't really much trauma, and he could be ready quite soon, depending on the inflammation that occurred as a result of the fluid. So when you get fluid in the knee, the patella tendon and stuff can get inflamed, and so that can cause pain and instability. On the other side, if there was blood in the fluid that they extracted from the knee, I have so much experience with the injuries. If there was blood in the fluid from that they extracted from the knee, then the knee, the fluid was there because of trauma. Something happened, and then Bowen would be out for longer. So I think at a very minimum, Bowen misses this week to recover and make sure the inflammation is down and the knee is stable. But he could be back as soon as next week. So it's kind of like a wait and see. Tactically, I mean, look at these numbers the stats kind of see goals in this one. Net XG 1.47 for Burnley and 2.15 for West Ham, one of the highest of the week. Look at Burnley's left zonal matchup with a whopping 4.6. Mariner, does your data concur there?
Yeah, 4.6 on the. At least we agree. That's a start. West Ham's fixture difficulty very good, 2.4 as well. I mean, a little bit of green. Not as interestingly enough, not much of a headed matchup. I thought there might be a bit more of a headed matchup. And let's face it, with so many injuries, who's Ward-Prowse going to give the ball to? He might create things, but at this rate, who's he going to actually give the ball to? Because I think Kudus is possibly injured as well, by all accounts. There was rumours about him being with a knock as well.
No, he came on. He came on. I think he was on the bench in the international match, and he came on. But yeah, overall though, the fixtures, when you look at them as well, Gabe, Gameweek 14 to 16, they're like within 7 days. So part of me is a bit cautious about even blowing both my free transfers right now, because I've got two. Bowen, I don't know if I should sell him or not, but equally I'm like, if it could be that it gets worse and we won't know till the inflammation is down as well, it kind of feels like it's probably a sell for me. Because if I'm not going to get this fixture, and I'll wait to see what Moyes says as well, if I'm not going to get this fixture, I think I'd need to kind of maybe just use that one free transfer and roll, and then like try to have 2 going into the congestion, because in that congested period, I think we're gonna have a lot of issues. I'm already having issues with my team.
We're not even there yet. We're flying everywhere. but I think so.
All the flags,
one thing
right?
I
Like
was
you said.
yeah. One thing I was thinking about is I used to play NFL fantasy. I know a lot of FPL managers play that now. And there's this concept of handcuffing. Like when you get a running back, a starting running back, you get the backup as well. And that case, and obviously in NFL and American football, there are a lot of injuries. So if there's an injury to one, then you have the other, right? And I don't think it's a bad idea to handcuff Bowen with Kudus here. Like if you have, for example, I have Diaby and Gordon, and one of them, or Diaby is gonna become Mbumo. Gordon will get to Newcastle, but kind of selling, like keeping Bowen until we get more news, right? And bringing in Kudus to play Kudus for this fixture, I think is really interesting. And I think Burnley is kind of just the type of team that Kudus could take advantage of. If I were to guess how West Ham are going to set up in their front four, I would guess that it's Benrahma on the left, Paqueta at the 10, Kudus on the right, and Danny Ings probably starting at the 9. That would be my guess initially. And against Burnley, honestly, they're all options. There's opportunity here for all of those players.
Interesting. I don't have any West Ham assets, and I don't think I will. Quite frankly, not at the moment.
What about?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, do you go in at this point? If you don't have any, you don't go in.
I don't think I would. No,
Kudus
not with the
maybe,
injuries.
But you could get him instead of Palmer. So it's like, do you want to go Eze or Lise or Kudus as like your pump for the next 3, and then bring in Palmer when the fixtures turn?
I think,
or do you just
too early for Elise? Too early for Elise for me.
So then it's Eze, right? Eze or Kudus. Really.
Yeah,
I think that's the decision here.
Or Palmer.
Or do you go more Buemo or Palmer? I feel like everyone's trying to sell a midfielder for one of those 4. Mitoma as well, looking like he's out. So
toast.
All a bit
toast. There's another story. We'll come on to him in a minute. Right. Should we keep
going?
The
next matchup. Yeah, let's keep going. We've got Luton versus Crystal Palace. This one looks a bit tighter. We got 1.27 net XG for Crystal Palace and 1.17 for Luton. Looks like a score draw, 1-1 potentially. What are your thoughts here tactically, Gabe? Anyone who's got a Luton defender, is this the week to play them ahead of Simicast away at City?
The first thing that struck me about Luton at home is how different their stats are at home compared to away, and specifically that for some reason away their left side just totally opens up. So but at home we see here that Palace's right zonal matchup isn't lighting up, and the difference is such that let's see, Luton concede 2 chances per game at home, and more than 6 chances on the left, from the left side, and over 6 chances from the left side away. And that's something that I can't really explain tactically. I've been trying, and I haven't found the answer to that. So, but it's not showing up here. So this one we look at the zonals, and I kind of agree with them. The Palace is left, and Eza will. This is all. Most of the data here is without Eza, so Eza's return will also shift it back towards the central area a little bit. But one thing that Lucien mentioned is the way Eza creates chances for himself. Like he's not like Zaha that runs past players. He'll fake that run past and drag his back leg to try to get the foul or the pen. And I think against inexperienced or Premier League inexperienced players at like Luton, I think Eza could really cause some to just create some havoc there by creating fouls like that. The other thing he does is he'll take that step forward to create space for himself to shoot. But basically, Palace is all about Eza right now, and I think Eza is a fine kind of like short-term punt, maybe a stopgap between now and when you get Mbumo.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, SA-wise, for me, he is on my radar because, I mean, he does, you know, he's quite a talisman really for them nowadays, isn't he? I just want to quickly share my stuff, Gabe. And there's a couple of interesting things I spotted with the fixture difficulties for these. I mean, Crystal Palace fixture difficulty isn't great attack, 0.7. Luton, 1.1. So Luton edge it at home. Now, what is interesting is Luton's attack. 11 shots in the box they're predicted, but only 3.4 on target. They can't hit a barn door from a yard. Right? You see, that's red and green right next. What a crazy thing that 11 shots in the box predicted and 3.4 on target, but also a headed matchup, interesting enough, for Luton against Crystal Palace, 3.9. So there's an interesting one. But no, I strongly suspect that this might be a relatively low-scoring game, oddly enough. Although if you never know with Luton at home. I don't know about you, Nima.
No, I'm just the reason I keep talking about Luton is because Ash from FPL is a Luton fan, and he's converted Bakar into a Luton fan, guys. He asked Bakar on the live show, he goes, "What team do you support?" And he didn't have a team. He supported a Premier League team. So then he made him a Hatter, and you see Bakar saying, "Come on, you Hatters!" So he's like a full-on Luton fan now. They've as Mick said, they've tripled their fan base overnight.
I should convert him to a Grimsby fan, really, because Grimsby's got the captain of Pakistan.
Why didn't you convert him when you had him?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
When he was against the show, you didn't convert him, and now he's been taken. Maybe
I mean,
Grim team.
There we go. I've gone blurred again, just like your FCAs night. I don't know what's going on.
I think that was the beginning of what threw me. When I saw him blurred earlier, the sound started to go. I've changed my headset.
Yeah,
I've got Bluetooth headphone on now because I couldn't hear what was going on before. But I'm glad to be here properly, though. But yeah, I think this game there isn't much to write home about apart from what you've discussed. I think Morris has dropped in price a bit. You know, he's interesting potentially as a third forward at some point, but I don't think now. Like obviously, I had him during the double game week, and you know, I thought that was fair enough. But in the future, maybe, but not right now. So I think let's go to the next one because Eze, I think that's the main target. If I didn't have a Crystal Palace defender right now, I don't know if I'd be necessarily going there. But there doesn't feel like there's many good places to go. So maybe Luton is a good fixture to enter in that. So yeah, we'll talk more about kind of these players, I'm sure, when people want to talk about which defenders they sell, which are all flagged as well. So let's just keep going for the next one. Newcastle versus Chelsea here. So it's a bit more of an exciting game, I think. I'm really keen just from a neutral point of view of watching how they both play rather than from an FPL point of view. Now, I do have Gordon, so that is something I need to consider. I'm not sure how I feel about him long term. He could become someone like Palmer and Mabuemo eventually, but right now I feel like I want Gordon for the Bournemouth game after this week. So I'm like willing to put up with this and hope that then I get out just as the congestion starts and like I manage to get the starts. That's the plan. So yeah, let's look at the quick net XG. So for the podcast listeners, 1.67 for Newcastle, 1.36 for Chelsea. What are you thinking, Gabe, in terms of a tactical output here? And then we'll look at Chris's FDRs as well to see whether they agree with you, because I think he's really loved Newcastle. So I wonder if it'll be a bigger gap between the two teams in his data.
I mean, I think people are convincing themselves that Gordon is a problem just so they can justify a transfer that they want to make. Gordon has scored 19 points in the last 4 game weeks. He's like sub 6 million. Gordon is not a problem. Gordon is just fine. His role is fine. The only thing that's maybe if averaging like 4 points, what is it, like almost 5 points a game week for less than 6 million player, if while his team is fatigued and injured, if this is the worst we're going to get from Gordon, then I think Gordon is a strong hold, unless you need cash to do something else, to bring in Salah or something like that, and you need to go down to Palmer or even down to a 4-5 or something like that. But I don't know. So on that front, I think Gordon is perfectly fine. Going against Chelsea, I honestly don't mind. Like the thing with Chelsea is they're super reliant now for creativity on Reece James. And if they try to rely on Reece James against Newcastle, then Gordon could just absolutely destroy them. And so I think Gordon is perfectly fine. I have no plans to get rid of him. just yet. I would get rid of a Diaby or even maybe even more expensive players. We'll talk about players like Son and stuff like that shortly. But like from a tactical perspective, it's all about like, remember, I think it was towards the end of last season when Newcastle lost Bruno Guimaraes and they lost like a few kind of easy games. That's what last weekend was. Bruno Guimaraes and this totally went under the radar for me. He was suspended after 5 yellow cards, so he didn't play last game, and they lost 2-0 to Bournemouth. He'll be back. Isak will be back, and I think we'll see a kind of, while Newcastle remain a fatigued team, I think they will be somewhat revitalized at home with Bruno and Isak back, and I think Isak is a buy if he's healthy. I think Gordon is a hold, and that's how I see Newcastle. Mariner, do you have any Newcastle? Are you thinking of binning any of them?
Well, no, I don't own any apart from Trippier now because I sold Burn, so I had 2 defenders. I mean, from my side of things, Newcastle have a. Just see if I can just sort that out. There we go.
Gabe, he has no Newcastle apart from the most expensive Trippier.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, well, I had him right from the start. So if you look at that, I've just identified. So obviously 2.2 Newcastle fixture difficulty. I'll try and do it with the pens, obviously, and 0.6 for Chelsea. So from that perspective, as you were right to say, Nima, it does like Newcastle more. 5.4 shots on target. Oh, sorry, 5.4. This is, I think, it's the third highest or equal third highest for the week with respect to matchups. I tend to agree with Gabe on Isak. The only thing I would say is he's only fresh back. I don't think he'll play that long. I think they will manage his minutes, and for that reason, Gordon is a definite hold if you've got him.
And then there's the Bournemouth game. So that's why I feel like I'm going to hold on. And now that I've got the Bowen problem, potentially, it feels like I can free up more money moving from Bowen onwards. But I don't want to go to Mabumo yet against Arsenal as well. Like, I'm happy to have Saka and Gabriel and ride it out for one more week. So then I look at Eze and I'm like, yeah, Luton. And everything you said about taking advantage of defenders who maybe aren't as experienced in the Premier League, that is kind of exciting as a punt. But then that means I'd need to move Gordon on next week for Mabumo. So that's the issue, right? Like, I need to sell both of Bowen and Gordon overall. But I don't want to miss the fixtures for Gordon in the next 2. So it's like I want to stall it if I can. Maybe use it.
No, I think we'll get to what I know what your problem is, okay. But we haven't talked about it yet. But we'll get to what your problem is, and it's not Gordon. but we'll get there. I'm hoping to get a laugh from Mariner when we do get there. The one thing I'll say
don't worry, I'm sure you will if you think I think I've got a funny feeling what it might be. But yeah,
probably. The one thing I'll say for your point to for holding Bournemouth, holding Gordon for Bournemouth, Nima, is if you want to see like Sheffield United have a net XG of 1.92 against Bournemouth. It is the fourth highest in the game week. And I was looking at the FDR. It's Sheffield United 2.0. You'll never see him that high. So you definitely want Gordon, and that's against Bournemouth. So you definitely want Gordon against Bournemouth, I think.
Just one thing I would just add, just about Chelsea, because I think Chelsea, I mean, Palmer's been the one who's been coming up in conversation. The fixture difficulty there is 0.6. Now, of course, Newcastle have had a lot of problems with defence. They've got a lot of players out. I think Shah might be back by all accounts, or maybe fit. I don't know that I would. I have got Palmer on my shopping list. I don't know that I would go this week, although I do have a Matoma issue. So I've got to be. I could still go that route.
I think we might both
try and fix that
for Mbuemo by the end of the night.
I've already owned it. I've owned Mbuemo for ages. So I mean, I've no problem like that. It's just the issue I've got is Matoma. I was thinking he would be good for the coming weeks, and of course I was drawn to the fixture last time. But being honest with you, and we'll come on to Palmer in a bit. Looks terrific value, and I don't know that I would play him against Trippier. This is the thing, because I'm just going to take points off myself, so I might just hold back on that transfer for another week.
I don't know if I agree with that, because there's a lot of people this week bringing in like Mbuemo, even though they've got a double Arsenal defense, and they're like, "Well, I just like the player's injured. They now need to sell," and they're like, "I'm just going to get it. I'm going to buy the player I want."
But I don't know it's worth a hit though, because I'd have to hit, you see. So I don't know if it's worth a hit to then play players against each other.
Yeah, not for a hit maybe, but still.
No.
Yeah, as a free transfer. Fair enough. I think we'll keep going because we will definitely talk about these players as well in the future. And I think Isaac is the one that we're most excited to keep an eye on, right? See him actually.
Really quickly on Chelsea. I did want to mention something about Chelsea. I thought Raheem Sterling, his best match was against City. He was on another level. He played really, really well and feeling really confident. If he can play like that, and watch for what happens with the team when Nkunku returns. Nkunku is best suited in a kind of like a front two, where he has a support. But I don't know if Chelsea have the personnel to play that way. So watch that, and that could affect Palmer's positioning and his role within the team. And Nkunku would likely take pens off of him as well.
Okay.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm excited. I've had him on my draft bench in every draft game, Gabe. And Nkunku, I've just been waiting for him all season. Him and De Bruyne are rotting up my bench, and many weeks I play with 9-10 players. Yeah,
you're last in every league, but you're gonna end first.
Yeah. In the second half of the season, I'll come back, guys. Next January onwards. You heard it. If you're listening live, I'm gonna beat you guys. Nottingham Forest versus Brighton is a very exciting one. There's a kind of striker option here I want to ask about as well. So we got 1.65 net XG for Nottingham Forest, 1.35 for Brighton. Looks like a fairly even game, but I think Forest at home could pip them, considering that I think Brighton are one of the only teams who have not actually kept the clean sheet yet this season. So, this is someone that I'm begrudged to tell you I own. In my starting 11 right now is Lamptey. And I'm just there like waiting. I've got Tsimikas and Taylor on the bench. And maybe one of my free transfers would be Lamptey upgrade if I get rid of Bowen. So there is a world in which I use both I'd rather roll one, but let's see how that goes. But what do you think about this game? Obviously, Taiwo is back. I feel like he's kind of one of those options. There's a few striker options right now you could be going for the next few weeks. Is that someone who tempts you guys? Are you interested in Taiwo or anything on the Brighton side? Because I think right now we've all been stung. Anyone who's gone there, I've gone Lamptey. Some people have a Stupinian. They kept him on the bench waiting for him to come back. That's got worse. Mitoma now, March. Like, it's just even Ferguson and Pedro. They don't really. You never know how many minutes you're getting. Is it an avoid, or do you think there's still space there, Gabe, for Adunga versus like Palmer as a debate in that kind of price bracket?
I mean, you're definitely not bringing any Brighton players in. I think Brighton are kind of exemplified. So in their game against Sheffield, they played Sheffield United, right? Yeah. In that game, if you look at the blue average position map on the left, so Brighton is a team that likes to build out of the back and build out with width. Use their wing backs, right? And look how narrow that team is there, and that's because of the injuries. That's the injuries, the players missing their so they have to play almost like they're trying to play the same way but set up differently. There's no space to pass. They can't get any penetration. So I think Brighton are in a bit of a mess because of all those injuries, and they're a hard avoid. Doesn't surprise me at all that Forest have the higher net XG here. What is how do the FDRs compare here, Marino, between the two?
It's pissed, I think. I just had a quick look. Actually, it doesn't like Forest, and it's really strange. Now, it's I can't quite work it out. I mean, it's still got Forest with respect to better shots on target, but a worse fixture difficulty. So I'm a bit confused with it, to say the least. It quite likes Brighton defence, oddly enough, which, again, I'm not quite sure about that, with Iwonyi back. And, if you look at Iwonyi, he is realistically, expected involvement 44% of Forest's of Forest's goals, expected goals, But their matchups are not that great. They're not high, so it makes me think that it's perhaps a good player in rather a bad team.
Maybe Brighton's going to do some spanking this week. Let's see how that
You never
goes
know.
down.
They have that ability, don't they? They have that ability to just turn up and thrash someone on a given day, and it may be one of those days this
100%.
week.
Well, Michael
But
Scott as well
it's a
says
tough one to
that
call.
Taiwo is a doubt. So Taiwo is an
Again.
injured out as
no
well.
way.
Again. Right.
Yeah, who knows?
Well,
I guess
maybe
we'll
that
see.
blows that out of the water. Then I'll take his numbers back down to
We'll
what it
keep
was.
an eye on that. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one going forwards for sure. Obviously, as well, I'm also a Turner owner. It kind of feels like that's come to the end of the road as well. So if an opportunity comes that I can find someone to partner Areola that's a bit better, I might. But for now, Areola's fixtures are okay in the next 2 to 5. So I'm just like, I'll just play him. I'm not going to make transfers with goalkeepers. Fuck this. Like,
I mean, how the hell did we all get hoodwinked by this Areola pick, for crying out loud? It's like a bunch of bloody sheep. Honestly, what a crap pick. Anyway,
everyone wildcarded around the same time, right? So everyone who wildcarded ended up there. That's the problem.
He's not been my starter. I did not. Areola. People were saying that people don't know. People in the Prem don't know Areola for some reason. I've said it for years. He's a shit goalkeeper. He's not good.
Excellent. Right.
All right, so I think we go to the next game and we'll keep the momentum up as we get to the captaincy metric, the big end to the show, and also have a look at all the Q&A that we've been starring and the Discord questions. So I think we spend some more time on the questions if we get through the matchups faster. So we keep going. We've got Sheffield United versus Bournemouth. Speaking of the Devils, is this a week to start Cameron Archer? If Bowen isn't going to play, do I just play Archer Bournemouth home? There is a world in which that could be convinced of that. I know FPL Discomfort, one of our haulers, he captained Archer last week and he's going to captain Archer this week. So that's going to be wild. I don't know how he's thinking about doing it second week running, but fair play to you, Kieran. He is definitely on another level when it comes to differential plays compared to me. But Bournemouth's next G is actually very similar to Sheffield's. They're both around 1.93 and 1.92 respectively. So it's a bit crazy here. The game looks very good and high scoring. I guess, is it a case of both defenses are appalling? Is that fair? Is it more the defenses are so weak, hence both of them have such a high net XG and expected goal contributions versus that they're actually strong attacks, I guess? Solanke is obviously an exciting pick. This could be an entry point for him. A lot of people are looking at him as a striker to bring in for like an Alvarez. So I think that's someone who, we were talking about Taiwo earlier, and I think when you look at Solanke and Taiwo, I think right now, you'd be going for Solanke, right?
Yeah, definitely, right?
I've got to be honest with you. Let me before you go into the tactics, Gabe, let me put my fixture. Obviously got 1.93 and 1.92 net XG, right? Now what do we have? Look, 3.5 or 3.3 or 3.5 even. I can't read. 3.5 for Bournemouth, 2.8 I've got excited. I've ringed Spurs. It's actually 2.0. So there's my numbers. I've just been ring the wrong one. But 2 for Sheffield United, and there, even XG 1.8, shots on target 5.4. But look at Bournemouth. Big chances 3, shots on target 5.7. With all honesty, if this isn't the week to bring Solanke in, there never is one. But there's a caveat. Remember what happened to Sheffield United in one game at home. They got whacked, remember. But I really like him this week.
I'm going to add another caveat. And the one thing that's kind of like, that's kind of putting me off Solanke a little bit this week. First, I just want to note, like, the stats are almost identical. The only thing maybe like separating them a little bit would be slight favoritism for in Bournemouth's direction for zonally. But tactically, I want to say Sheffield United, like a Solanke, a lone striker against a back three, against 3 center backs, they rarely find space to score. Now, I mean, Solanke is a clever, sharp player who can always pull something out of it, especially if with Tavernier's deliveries. But it's tactically speaking, it's not ideal. And we talked about this, I think, when Spurs played Sheffield United, and everybody was captaining Son, right? And we mentioned that time, and it turned out to be the case. Even when Holland, when City traveled to Sheffield United, Holland didn't have an easy time either. So I would say watch out for that 3 center backs tactically. It doesn't exactly match up.
No, but are Sheffield United going to get excited though? Because Sheffield United might see the opportunity to win in a game. There's always, to be honest, you look at Bournemouth as well. Defence-wise, Bournemouth are not great. This is the best matchup I've seen for Sheffield United for I think all season. And with that in mind, are they just going to get a bit overexcited and perhaps maybe open up a bit, Gabe? Maybe you might see them opening up a bit as well. I think there's loads of potentially. There's goals in this, and I think it's probably the game where I go and grab my box of popcorn and sit and watch. There we go. I reckon it could be a real cracker.
Quick couple shout-outs as well. Thank you, True Fandela, for the super chat. Super thanks. Appreciate it, buddy. Congrats, you guys. Love and respect, they say. So big win. Thank you to all the haulers who weren't here at the beginning. We gave you all a shout-out. Thank you for your support. We will keep starring the questions as well as we go. When we get to the Villa game, True Fandela will answer your question before the Q&A. So remember not to go to the Q&A timestamp. It will be in that matchup. But yeah, overall as well, good to see Mariner back, as many are saying. Shout out to Inevitable Sadness. Everyone's been looking for you, Chris. So good to see you. Let's keep going. Next matchup now. So Brentford versus Arsenal. 1.45 net XG for Arsenal, just pipping Brentford. 1.21 for Brentford. Wow. I do wonder if when we get to his matchups, it's the other way around. I almost feel like this is the evil laugh moment. I can see it unveiling in front of my eyes. Like the net XG is so close.
Who's your who from your midfield is your sell? Nima, who do you sell from your midfield given the net XG?
If I was gonna sell someone, I would be selling well, I think Odegaard's back now. Jesus is fit. Well, yeah, I don't know if I'd sell him in this fixture, though. I feel like the fixtures are still pretty strong. So there isn't really anyone I think I would want to be going to. Like, if I needed to free up funds, maybe, if you had no other problems and Saka could be your makeshift. But if you only had 1 free transfer, I wouldn't be selling Saka this week. I'd just be rolling and getting 2 for that period. But I think if you've got 2 free transfers, because there's Wolves home, there's Luton away, there's Aston Villa away, Brighton home. I think those fixtures are fantastic. So all the way up until about Gameweek 17, and then obviously in the blank Gameweek 18, it's Liverpool Anfield, which is not great. So, but after that, it's good again. So I just feel like there's one bad game weekend like the next 10. So I can't do it to myself. If there was a way to get to like a Jesus or someone else as part of the move, maybe, but there's no midfielder I'd want to be buying over Saka this week, I'll be honest. So I think this matchup, I'm convinced we can do it. I feel like it's a heated game, London derby. I'm expecting to win 2-1 here. I'm not sure about the clean sheet. And that's part of why I'm considering still bringing in Mbeumo, even though I have Gabriel, because I'd like to think we can get this win. We need to grind it out, but let's see. It's going to be an interesting matchup. From your side, Gabe, is there obviously any difference to what you're expecting from Brentford to do? Because, they've obviously got the home ground. We know that they're probably going to be quite good to play against Arsenal. I know that they've had a few good games against us over the years. I have a feeling that they've got more wins than we have against them in the Prem since Arteta's been in charge. So it's actually a tough game for us away from home. I'm setting it up for the SPR.
Yeah, no, I think it is a tough game, and mostly because of just Thomas Frank and the tactics that he employs against you guys. I mean, I do agree with you. I think you take the win in the end, and I think Saka is heavily involved, where the right zonal, the 4.4 right zonal there for Arsenal kind of lights up, and so yeah, Saka's not a sell, but I also say I don't think Saka is a buy just in general. If you have him, you hold him.
I agree.
But I think Brentford's goal comes from a set piece. in this one.
Mm.
Not necessarily. I mean, Mbumo, he's such a talisman that any goal from Brentford could likely fall for Mbumo. But this isn't the week to buy Mbumo, and I think you know that. People know that, but they're trying to justify that it's okay because they have other plans that they want to be okay as well. This isn't the week to get him. You can wait on Mbumo, and if honestly, if there are a lot of defensive moves being made right now, and I don't think Brentford is actually a team, obviously, that you should invest in now against Arsenal. But if you're in a
I think
bind, like
next week,
rather
fair
than
enough. Yeah,
yeah,
but this
next week,
week,
fair enough.
I
But if
definitely don't want to do it.
no, but I honestly, I would rather buy a Brentford defender than Mbumo this week. And the reason being, one, Arsenal's attack has not been super prolific. Their defense has been a lot more stout than their attack has been prolific. That's why I went triple Arsenal defense, and no Arsenal attackers. And number two, the set pieces. So one thing Lucian brought to our attention yesterday was that if Brentford are going to score kind of like a clean, direct set piece, like a corner, header, goal, it's those balls usually fall to Collins. But against tougher opposition, like Arsenal might be, it's usually Pinnock that can scrap in there for something. So rather than forcing than doing like a Gordon to Mbumo, I would move a defender like an injured defender or a defender that's not playing. I prefer that to Pinnock as a move myself. I don't know how you guys see it.
That's pretty interesting. I do love Ethan Pinnock, so that's a good shout.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just put my stuff up. I mean, there's not a lot in it actually, Nima. I mean, it's Arsenal slightly positive,
nice.
Brentford slightly positive. So yeah, I think maybe even slightly better. I tend to agree
We've come
with
a
you,
long
Gabe.
way though, over the years.
Yeah, they've improved a bit. I can't have the evil laugh quite so much. I sort of like agree with you, Gabe. With respect to you could perhaps hold back on the Mbumobile for another week. The only thing I would say is that when they've got an XG matchup of around 1.4, 1.5, and Boomer's got half of that. So he's up at 0.7. His numbers are amazing. He is a true talisman. I know we're going to come on to another player who, might not be a true talisman, but you could argue in certain matchups he is. But Mbumo is top, and I'll show you the list of the talisman later on. He's top now for the next 5 game weeks, and quite frankly, as much as this doesn't look a good matchup, he's still got a very, very good chance of a return, I think.
Good point by Colm there.
Yes, true. Although Flecken can just rot, but that means I've got to play Areola. God, my team.
So
when can I wildcard again, boys?
I know, right?
I wonder what Ramsdale's going to do as well, because Ramsdale loves a good shit house with the away fans when he's away.
I thought you were going to say Ramsdale loves a good shit.
57 minutes in, first proper swearing. I love it.
There we go.
We got the laugh. We got the laugh we needed from
Ramsdale loves to go into the stand and have a shit.
And on that note, if you've enjoyed the episode,
right, keep going. Anyway, I'm starting off. They've just lost about 6 viewers.
No, it's all good. They'll come back for you. They just love your laugh. Maybe you pierced their eardrum or something. But we will keep going, because I'm sure we'll talk about these players in the Q&A at the end and the captaincy metric. But I'd be looking at getting an Arsenal defender as kind of my summary there if I could. And Saliba obviously top of the pile for me. I'm a Gabriel owner. I'm quite jealous looking at Saliba, but
I've already got
overall,
Saliba now, finally.
Yeah, and I think if you were going to buy a midfielder, I wouldn't be buying Saka this week either as well. No. I'd be looking to find the next Arsenal attacker that maybe has a bit more going for them right now this second. Having said that, as an owner, I'm never going to sell Gabe. Like, he's currently on 6.5 points per match, which is the third out of 321 midfielders in the game. So when people are telling me like he's like a fire, I need to get rid of him, I feel like with Bowen and these other players like Mitoma, like there's surely somewhere in each of our teams where something is more wrong that needs fixing. So I just feel like it's a bit of a preemptive move. And with the Wolves home and Luton away games coming up, I want to hold him for these next 3 or 4 when we talk about players who play 90 minutes and are key to their team. Like, it just feels like, what am I buying into? Like, I buy a Kudus and doesn't even start or something.
Well, no, I mean that's not really a thing, but Kudus will start. But I get your point. But the other thing in favor of Saka is he'll be going up against Ruslev, and Ruslev is not a left back, so it's a makeshift left back. So that bodes well for him. But if Brentford play a little deeper, if they play their back five kind of deep, then I really think this could be a game for Ben White. And I think Ben White could be needed to make those overlapping runs, to even to open things up for Saka himself, if he's not getting the ball in the end line there.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I think overall then, just right now, Mbeumo is someone I'm not going to get. I'm just going to put that out there as we go to the next matchup. But I will probably be there with him in game week 14. So I just need to kind of this week make a decision about who I'm going to get as a midfielder. And I think a lot of the Q&As are about who's the best Mitoma replacement, who's the best Bowen replacement. Not, like there's all these questions. So we will come to those at the end once we've seen every matchup. Yeah. But as I was trying to say, we've got Chris's evil laugh back. So good to see him here. I think in the chat they enjoyed that. They're saying he's back. So yeah, we'll put all the Q&A for anything we've missed. And yeah, if you've enjoyed the show 1 hour in, please do hit that like button. Celebrate the win for us. There was, I think, 34 likes before we went live. I've never seen anything like it. So we appreciate all the support and love, guys. And we'll go to the next one. Tottenham versus Aston Villa. Is this a Son captaincy on the cards? 1.8 net XG for Spurs, 1.27 for Aston Villa. I'm a Watkins owner, I'm a cash owner, and I'm a Son owner, Gabe. A lot of problems in my team this week, and it feels like all my players are against each other. So I feel like it's going to be one of those weeks where you're just going to kind of minimize the loss and make gains in a future week where you'll have better fixtures from your team. But what are your thoughts on this game? I'm thinking it's going to be quite exciting, and I genuinely see Son as my vice captain right now. And I don't know, like there's a world in which maybe he could become captain depending on what you think tactically.
Did you witness the world where without Madison last game week?
I did, but it was also one game. I know, but it was also one game.
Right. It was one game without Madison, which is all we know. And you're going to choose to believe the narrative from with Madison. I don't know. It could pay off. They're at home. It's different.
It's a punt, right?
It's a punt. It's a punt. It's a punt.
But it depends how much we know about Haaland's fitness. Is how much we know about Haaland's fitness. I think what I would say is I'm obviously on Haaland right now. I said he's my vice. And if Haaland was to miss out, I'd like to think that he would just miss out completely and not cameo. So it would be like they're taking a precaution and not risking him, giving him rest. So then at least then my vice captain would kick in. That's the way I'm looking at it. But Salah, I've seen a few people going for him as captaincy, and we'll get to that matchup too. But, when we talk about captaincy metric, I'm excited to see all of them and see which fixture is considered the best. But I'm not sure I'd be going there. I'm not sure, I would want to be captaining him for Liverpool. I just feel like away from home at the Etihad, it's like the worst game per season for nearly every team in the game. So I love Salah and what he's done. And obviously he's FPL royalty, 250 points minimum every season. But it just feels like this is the kind of week you get a gain elsewhere, right? So for me, it's Son is that exciting player. He's playing at home. But then so is Haaland. So you know what I mean? It's just how could I go for Son with what I saw with Madison?
Yeah.
Like you say. Now some other players will be back in. So you think Lo Celso will be in, and obviously hopefully that's more attacking.
Well, we don't know. He didn't. I thought he would play against Wolves, and he didn't, right? And it didn't work.
More of a defensive free, right? Was that more of a defensive midfield free?
Yeah. And that
but was that because someone was suspended? So it wasn't Basuma maybe suspended, and he should be back, or I think there's a few players who were suspended and are coming back, and Poro looked great. So there's still other people to deliver the balls from set pieces. It doesn't have to be Madison. So there's some options.
Well, that's why.
There. But we don't know yet what it's going to be.
Forget about Kulu. Kulu is.
I just put that out there to see your response.
Yeah. Kulu Donkey's not going to have any impact here. No. So last game, I really thought the creativity would come from Pedro Porro on the right hand side. That was the obvious place. And when the game started, it turned out to be true. There was right away they got the ball wide. Porro sends the ball forward, and then that was it. They didn't do it anymore. So I was a little bit confused by Ange that he didn't play Lo Celso and he didn't rely on Porro for creativity last game. So I'm a little confused, and I don't know. I can't say how he's going to change it for this game. What I can say is what Lo Celso brings to the table is progressive passing. He'll break lines with passing, and he'll get into the box with passing. And I think if Lo Celso plays, then Son is a legit a legit captaincy shout.
I love that. And he's obviously the thumbnail player as well, right? Of choice. In the chat, we got Podner saying Nima sounds like a Spurs fan tonight.
I know.
Like things have changed, yeah. I've been listening to too many shows with Spurs fans as hosts, and he's making me kind of respect what Angie's doing more. But I'm still kind of just happy watching them get all the praise, because we'll see where they're at the end of the season. But it's exciting to watch, and it's way more fun than it must have been for a long time. So all my friends who are like Tottenham fans, and somehow I've ended up with way more Tottenham friends than I ever would have imagined because of FPL game. So I have to be unbiased when I'm looking at my captaincies and previous good years. Like, you know, I've had stuff that I'm not proud of, like having Aguero captained against Arsenal. But it's just nice to be able to have Arsenal players in my team again and have it be a debate, because there was years where I just avoided them. It was like the double pain of losing a real Prem game and your FPL asset blanking. It was too much for me. But no, Tottenham.
So why Son over Saka?
No, I have Saka? Both, but I wouldn't.
No. As far as the captaincy,
yeah, I think it's just
because
the
away
side of things. Yeah.
Makes
I'm
sense.
very much a stickler for the home games. Hence Haaland.
It's been a huge factor this season. Home away splits are massive this season.
And I think the data as well is worth shouting up. Anyone who's new to the channel doesn't know. All the kind of data we look at, generally speaking, is kind of home defense versus away attack. And also, like, you know, that's something that the away defense versus the home attack they're playing, and respectively. So FDR shouldn't necessarily be, or fixture difficulty rating shouldn't just be good or bad. It should be different based on if it's your attack or your defense. You could have a good fixture from an attacking point of view, but it's bad from a defensive point of view. So the attacking assets might still be good purchases in FPL, but obviously it's a bad defensive fixture. So I think you need to try and have like a home and away section too. So shout out to you guys just to put it out there for doing something different, something truly unique and crazy in the FPL space. So I'm glad that they recognize something different. And thank you to the judges again. Like, I'm still in shock still now today. But yeah, and it's just like there's obviously like 60 people watching. So thanks to all of you. But now that I've been called a Tottenham fan, I will keep going, because that we must put
wait, I haven't done the fixture difficulty. Let me do the fixture difficulty before you move on. Very quick. Spurs 2.8, Aston Villa 1.8, Aston Villa left 4.1. There's Watkins. Shots in the box for Aston Villa 10.7. What's going on? I look at Spurs as well, obviously with the Maddison side of things. I actually think Watkins is a captaincy shout this week.
Interesting.
No, you said it last week, and I know he was one like open shot from goal away from a massive haul.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, that was disgusting, wasn't it? I haven't had my rant yet. I haven't had my rant yet. You've just reminded me what my rant was.
So how are you thinking about doing it again when you just did it last week and that happened?
I ain't captaining him this week, but what I'm saying is I think he's an outside captaincy shout this week, as his son.
But you okay? Well, I'll take the sunshine.
Outside of sanity.
Look,
shout.
Imagine you would have all twice and expecting a different result.
I looked at the Content Creators League. I don't copy any other bloody content creator. I was the only one out of all the Content Creators League, I think, who went for Watkins. The only one. Just me.
And it must have hurt bad.
How'd that go?
You must be on the second page now. I'm back on the first page. Are you still on the first page?
No, I'm still ahead. I'm still ahead of you. Yeah,
you're way ahead of me. We're both ahead of Gabe. We won't tell him his rank. We won't tell him. For anyone who's new, Gabe hasn't checked his rank yet this season. But let's keep going. I hope that you're going to be non-biased about the United team, guys. Let's see what happens when we get there. All right, so Podner, I'll be unbiased, Podner, but these guys, they're men's of numbers, and the numbers do not look good, unfortunately, my friend. He's finally catching up with them, is what Chris was saying. But we've got 1.17 net XG for Everton and 0.92 for Man United. I think away from home, I can't remember who said this, but whoever was talking about it, they talked, I think it was maybe even Planet, Gabe? Was it maybe Clayton and James? And they were talking about it would be like a FA Cup quarterfinal atmosphere that Everton will try and make this. And the charges that just happened, the points dropped, and suddenly they're here and United's showing up like having had a tough season. And United have done great. They're the most informed team in the Prem in the last 5. They won 4 of those 5. The only game they lost was to City. They are in great form, right? But I think the fans will agree that there's a lot going on, distractions with the ownership, injuries. Luke Shaw looks to be back, so that can make a massive difference. Not sure whether he's fit enough to start or cameo, so let us know in the chat if you have an idea of what will happen there. But yeah, I think United, their time will come. But in terms of Everton, I think Everton are going to be steadfast, and they're going to be really going for it. So what do you think is the date? Okay, no. So Chris has written "ha ha," so I can only apologize in advance. I'm sorry for this guy. The Grimsby fan is not happy with you. But please don't cancel your membership on because of Chris. But he wrote a big ha ha. So yeah, we got that there.
Yeah, right. Can I just say something?
Yeah,
I want to. My joke of the day. What's the nickname? The Red Devils. Look at the data. It's bright red. Look at it's bright red. Look at it. It's brilliant. I can't believe it. That's
but they have been the best, which is what I'm trying to say. But obviously, I think when you look at it, like obviously the match they played last game as well, the opponent came out and said, I think it was the Luton players, right? And they came out and said that like they were really difficult to play against. So I think overall, like there's something happening there, but the players are needed, and not all the players have been there to be able to make it happen. And they've been really light in defense. They've played like 13 different back lines, combinations. It's been crazy. They have won the games, like I mentioned, but I think even the fans would agree that some of them have been very late wins, very scrappy wins, and like all that matters is a win and 3 points, and they're doing great. But it just feels like it's not quite there, like from like a owning an assets point of view or captaincy yet. So like it's just been struggle. Like we've held on to some of these assets for a long time, and we're waiting for like the next good fixture. And there's a lot of good ones on the paper, but they've not kind of panned out. And I think this could be a tough game. I could see Everton getting a draw. But
I've seen Rashford score though. I've seen Rashford score this season. Trouble is, it was for England.
Yeah, he's had great spells actually. So both international breaks, his cameos have looked good. He start games like he looks great for England, and it's just not quite happening at United. I don't know why, but things will get better. I think he's top 5 or top 10 in the league for shots as well and attempts. So obviously he's been unfortunate, and there's been a lot of variance. The chances haven't come off. So you would hope that will turn around. And that's what I mean with the return of Shaw. And I think the data is one thing, but there's always a lot of context. And we say like the data just is kind of based on the input, right? So the reality is you still got to respect United. Like I do think they are where they are for good reason. And I'm going to be really bullish here and say, hold me to account at the end of the season, but I will not be shocked if they finish above Spurs come the end of the season. I'm just going to put that out there.
Right.
So,
are you off your soapbox now?
No. They were saying I'm a Tottenham fan, but I'd sooner be a United fan than a Tottenham fan. So I'm changing my allegiance now. I'm moving to the next.
I reckon you're going to run for Parliament. Come on, Gabe. No. Just you've seen my numbers. I've wrote ha 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 all over my zonal matchups and everything with the XG of like I said, the Red Devils for a reason this week on my zonals anyway and everything. They're red on yours as well, Manchester United, but Everton aren't that green either.
No, and I mean, like I said, the data is finally caught up with Manchester United, and this isn't bias or anything. This is like in this case, it really is just poor United, and I think I would disagree with you, Nima. I think United are actually a little bit lucky to be as high in the table as they are. I think they actually deserve to be quite lower because there are several games that they had no business taking any points in that they did take points in. United have just a little over 1 XG in each away game. And Everton don't allow that much either. Everton are like top 5 or top 6 for shots in the box conceded at home. So this isn't this isn't an easy matchup for United or for Everton. And I think that's what we're seeing in the stats here. And I think tactically it will kind of bear out to be the same to kind of like back up those stats in the sense that Everton and United could be like a tactical KG kind of battle where Everton are trying to make it more chaotic and ride that kind of a reaction from the 10-point deduction, and Manchester United are trying to bring more control to the game, and in that kind of arm wrestling encounter, it's impossible to predict which one will come on top. Will chaos overcome control, or will control overcome chaos? I think this game will largely be dependent on game state, and how even the stats are, I think, indicates that. The one thing I will say is I hope Ten Hag is smart enough to, so he played Rashford on the right hand side last match, and there was some
Sorry to the podcast listeners. As Gabe was talking on his soapbox, I just put up Podner's message. It's like, I missed Gabe's biased Man United opinion. And it was just, he couldn't resist laughing himself. It wasn't meant to distract you, but it worked, I guess.
It was perfect. I love it. I'd vote for Nima if he ran for government too. You'd be the best representative in the country where I live, probably in your country as well. So
too many cobwebs in my cupboard for that.
Well, that's all right. That's what makes you attractive. Anyway, I hope Ten Hag moves Rashford back to the left to exploit the left side zonal matchup against Ashley Young. I don't want to see friggin' like any of these players, like any of these like kind of like young up and coming players, the Garnachos of the world and all of this, in the best position to help United. I want to see United's best players in the best position to help United. And in this one in particular, you got to put Rashford up against Ashley Young. And if he does so, I think this game could break wide open, because I think Rashford does get something from there.
I think that's fair. I think we've got some positives to take, and hopefully, as we said, they'll continue to go up from here. Let's go to the quick summaries and a few bits of extra data, and then we'll look at the captaincy. We're doing all right for time. We've got through all 10 matchups nearly. There's still one more, though, I realize.
I think I've got a technical problem. I think I've got a technical problem now, but you carry on.
We will. So 1.23 net XG for Wolves, 1.21 for Fulham. It's like a tight game. Wolves did look great against Tottenham last week. Obviously, it was a bit of a crazy game state. Like, Spurs went ahead quite early, and from there on in, it kind of looked like Wolves were worthy winners. So it was like a big comeback. I think anyone who watched the game would tell you it was fair. And obviously, it took a wonder moment from Sarabia, came on with the goal and the assist. But overall, this game, like, would you be investing in any of the assets? We had questions about buying Fulham defenders this week. There was questions around that earlier. What are your thoughts, guys? How do you see this matchup unfolding?
Go ahead, Mariner. Start us off.
Hang on. Let me just add mine. I've not even looked yet. I'm just trying to sort my mouse stopped working, so that was the problem. Wolves, slight positive. Fixture difficulty 1.1. Fulham, slight negative. Not a lot in anything. Yeah, very boring. 0-0. There we go. That's it. Finished.
I just want to get one comment out there. I got laughed at for being the AFTV guy. Remember, like, the rants and stuff. Like, I do the ranting, but today I've seen two biased non-United fans ranting about United. So I'll just put that out there for my brother Podner. Shout out to him.
I ain't ranting. I'm just saying that I just look at the numbers. I have no idea about Manchester United. I just know the numbers. I just know the numbers look like a traffic light, the red light.
Yeah. You're there for the red lights, but I know.
Yeah.
The flashing lights are there for you. So would you buy any assets in this game? What do you think? Because for me, I'm really struggling for like a defensive move. And if I was to move Lamptey on, I kind of genuinely believe a Wolves defender is somewhere I am looking. So where people were asking about Fulham defender in the chat, I think I mentioned Nuri a couple of weeks ago. I think Mark had said it from Black Box initially. And since then, I've had him in draft in a few draft leagues, and it's not quite paid off yet, but it feels quite exciting, and I just need another defender. I'm not sure there's any defenders with fixtures I like this week. Like, I don't personally.
Wait, what's exciting about a Wolves defender?
Nothing.
Nothing major. Really? It's to replace Lamptey. You got to think about who he's replacing. None of us who he's replacing is that Lamptey, right? Like,
sure.
It's not. It's not.
I mean, Kabore could replace Lamptey, but he's not exciting either.
But
I would not be in. I would not be investing in Wolves defensively, other than draft or a different format. But I think there.
Fine.
Yeah, I think there will be goals here. That I just see this as any combination of ones and twos. Fulham's right side lights up, which could be interesting depending on who plays there. Hold on, don't remember who was there last game.
Nuri 4 yellow cards as well. Damn.
Oh, 4 yellow cards. Well, that'll definitely put you off of it. Hold on, what was I
Yeah,
looking at?
it's only a one match ban though, isn't it?
Yeah. The problem with Fulham's right side there where the zonal lights up is it's De Cordova Reed. I'd like to see something different from that side, maybe even an increased influence from Alex Iwobi. But Fulham's problem is they have no 9. Raul Jimenez, despite the goal last game, it isn't going to do it for them
You don't see a
consistently.
sudden pickup from there. Okay, fair enough.
No, but you know,
I
you
mean-
have Willian and what's that, Mariner?
I was going to say the only thing I was just going to comment about Wolves really, but it's okay. Don't worry. I thought for some reason thought you talk about Wolves, but I was just looking at this. I can't see. You say about goals, Gabe. I only really see Hwang as being a threat really.
Well, yeah, I mean, from a stats perspective, he's kind of been he's kind of getting the only stats now with Neto out, but Bellegarde came into central midfield last game for Wolves, and I think that what Lucian pointed out, and he is a Wolves fan, is that his integration kind of puts more of a focal point on Cunha. So Cunha could develop into more, could get more of the opportunities here. But I mean, you're not investing in any of these players from an attacking or defensive point of view. The only defensive kind of if Harry Wilson plays on the right side for Fulham, then I think Fulham could really do some damage, and I think that could highlight Anthony Robinson's kind of left half space runs on the opposite side, because Harry Wilson can deliver those balls. So if you're looking at a Fulham defender, maybe Anthony Robinson with the hopes that Harry Wilson starts, but that's a lot of ifs and maybes and wishes, and so I would just avoid.
Yeah, tend to agree.
Craig says Fulham have no attacking pace either, and Claire's asking start Castagna versus Wolves. So there's a lot of things to be considered. Which Wolves will turn up, as Colm says? So it's quite a tough one.
This strikes me as last on match of the day, maybe. Although Crystal Palace against Luton also has that possibility.
Don't say that. I might buy Eze instead of Mbeumo this week. what are you talking about, man? Let's go to the GW13 Matchups Summary. So if you're on podcast, this is 1 hour 21. You can come and see all the matchups we just went through individually. Do you guys want to just call out maybe the top 3 attack and defenses for the FDR? Chris?
I mean, look, we've already mentioned it. Bournemouth top attack, followed by Spurs, followed by West Ham, I think, yeah, and defence. Everton, Brighton, and Wolves. There we go. Nothing really
I said,
there.
you said, why would you buy a Wolves defender?
Nothing really there. But I mean, it just shows, I think, it's a bit of a funny week. The week's a bit meh, isn't it? It's just one of those weeks. Zonals, I think, obviously, you've got Arsenal right, Villa left, Burnley left, Luton left. What else? Spurs all the way across against Villa, who quite frankly aren't very good away from home, generally speaking, defensively. And the only other thing I'm just going to remind you of is Luton's 11 shots in the box, but only 3.4 predicted shots on target.
It's not great. Yeah.
So enough of that. Let's keep going.
I think Colm makes a good point that Palhinha will be out as well, and there's this kind of growing trend.
True.
There's a growing trend in the Premier League where the Premier League teams are finding really good number 6s, and then the whole team is kind of built around them. So when a team loses their 6, it's devastating. And when we've seen it with the loss of Rodri for City, Palhinha for Fulham, and Bruno Guimaraes for Newcastle. So one way to go is, if you're trying to split hairs, target the team if they don't have a good 6, target that team.
Yeah, that's fair. I think this is for the podcast listeners, 1 hour 23. This is the next 5 matchup summary of the
So FPL. Here we go again. Attack, Brentford, Liverpool, Newcastle, then Manchester City. A gap. Manchester City, then Chelsea, who is creeping up now. Defence, Newcastle, Liverpool. What the hell? It must be drunk. Then Arsenal. That's
including the City game as well.
Yeah, and that includes City. So there we go. So I think it says a lot. Zonals, Arsenal, right? Similar to, it's not going to change a lot really, because everyone's got the strengths. But Let's look for headers this time. West Ham, Luton, and Brentford for headers. Shots in the box, Brentford and Liverpool. Shots on target, Man City, Newcastle and Spurs. Big chances, Liverpool, Man City, Newcastle and Brentford. And XG top is Liverpool. That's an XG matchup. And second is Newcastle and then Brentford. And Chelsea. So there we go. So that's roughly the way we're going. So, okay, right. That's a bit small, isn't it? But I think we can just about see that, can we? Unless you want me to just
we'll just rapidly move to the next one.
Right. Well, this is interesting because this is the next 5 to 10 involvements, guys. Okay, and I'll see if I can actually. It might be easier if I go to this one because it's a bit clear. Maybe I can make it a bit clearer. Whoops, hang on. Can you see that? Is that any better? So
yeah.
Right. So if we look at this, right, what we'll see is when you're talking about players, like say Talisman, you've got Mbumo at top now. Team XG matchups, the next 5 is 9.33 for Brentford. That's very good. I think it's second best. And you look, it's 4.57 involvements in the next 5. And look at this. Well, 0.7, 1.1, 0.86, 1.03, and 0.88. Then you go a bit further on. Next 10, Mbumo, 7.97. Watkins, 8.35. Haaland, Salah. We are really starting to see certain players starting to jump out now as, shall we say, proper talisman, or perhaps as Gabe might say, false ones. But I think if we move on, and I think the interesting thing, Nima, and again, bookmark this, everybody, 125. That's Solanke, right? He's 8th best with respect, or Bournemouth are 8th best when it comes to matchups. So they're not brilliant with respect to XG. It's not, you can't say they're a great team, but Solanke is involved in so much. He's 5th best at 3.59 involvements in the next 5. To me, that is more than enough for me to consider bringing him in. I've seen enough here. Their fixtures are okay. They're not great, but he's involved. And as Gabe, you mentioned, the word is is clever, and he plays to his strengths. And he's a tricky customer. And I think he's probably the only option for for Bournemouth, Billing and Tavernier. But there's Tavernier's assists potential there, Gabe, probably as well, right?
Yeah.
So
the delivery will come from Tavernier.
Yeah. So I think there we go. So I think now there is one slight problem. If you look at Solanke, next 10, 6.94. Podner, is he another Wilson? I think he might mean from the point of view of raining in the desert, which he did actually last week here. But the only thing I would actually say on this is the one slight doubt I've got about him is all these games coming thick and fast. Is he going to pick an injury up? He's a little bit injury prone from time to time, isn't he? So, and I don't think they've got many other people, so I don't think they'll rotate much. But I like him. I really like Solanke. And there's the other one, and this is the false talisman. But if you went on XG, Cole Palmer at Chelsea 8.75 XG matchup, 4th. Palmer 3.19 of those. If he keeps getting penalties, his non-penalty XG is not terrible, but it's nowhere near that of Jackson, who's absolutely blitzing the non-penalty XG for Chelsea. And mentioned Sterling. Sterling's not getting a lot, but we saw quite a bit of him, didn't we, in the last few weeks? Last match, Gabe, again, like you said, against City. So, but for me, for Palmer's price, it looks a bit of a gift at that sort of level, and I think he's definitely coming in. So I think he almost certainly is on the shopping list for me. I'll put more on Twitter. I'll put the top 6 up on Twitter.
Nice.
X, not Twitter, X. I'll put them on in tomorrow, probably. with some more details. But yeah,
Sounds
I
good. You want
like
to do
this,
the
and
captaincy
I'm actually.
metric or...
Yeah, I was just going to say, and Gabe and I have been speaking about this. I'm going to start picking players on this for the next few weeks now. That's what I'm going to do. Again, I'm trying to do something a bit different. I want to sort of like test something. And I've got basically Solanke and Palmer sat 5th and 6th. We've got Mbeumo I own, Salah I own, Haaland I own, Watkins I own. I'm going to own Solanke and Palmer in the next couple of weeks. So I'll have the top 6 on this Talisman metric in the coming weeks, and I'm going to see if it works.
And I think Mariner, Chelsea is a team to watch because they're going to be changing a lot with the return of Nkunku. And I mean, I don't know how Pochettino is going to fit Palmer, Gallagher, Jackson, Sterling, and Nkunku, those 5 players. I mean, if it were me, it's not. I mean, Jackson is an easy drop. But but it's more complicated than that, right? Yeah, you got to see where the best place for Nkunku is, and Palmer could be dropped. I don't think he will be because he's been so important to the creativity of the team that they'll find a way either at the 10, on the right side, or even as a false 9. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Palmer and Nkunku together, with Jackson being dropped. But that is a bit of a wait and see. But you're right, at that price on penalties, at least until Nkunku comes back. Some people think he'll remain on penalties even after Nkunku comes back. I don't believe that. Nkunku has scored 8 out of 9 penalties in his career, and he was on penalties before he went down, so he'll get him back in my opinion. But yeah, you're right. He's a gift at that price. Even if you're not expecting those kinds of returns, and a lot of it is from penalties, but still attacking positions right around 5 mil. It's hard to beat. Solid choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. So yeah, that's the Talisman side of things. But I'd like to try. I'm going to try and do that a bit more in the. I think I'm going to try and concentrate a little bit more on the players rather than just the things like the fixture difficulty going forward. So you'll see a little bit of a change in what I do.
Sounds good. All right, let's quickly 1 hour 31. We're at the captaincy metric timestamp, I think. So we'll play the little jingle, and we'll see you on the other side, guys. We'll see you reveal this game week 13 captaincy metric, and let us know in the chat who you're captaining as we talk through it.
There we go. Now,
wow.
Solanke is top, and do you know what? I cannot say I have seen a week like this. I think for about 2 seasons, where none of the top players have. You could question virtually every single player here in various ways. So it's wide open. Solanke, obviously, Gabe's already made the point of Sheffield United playing 3 at the back. It could be tough for him. I'm hoping that they're going to probably look at it and see the old dollar signs and go for it, and hopefully leave a few gaps. Ward-Prowse is sat in 2nd. Again, you could question that, Gabe. But, Ward-Prowse has been heavily involved in stuff. And then you've got Watkins and Son, and quite frankly, you can question both of those as well. And we've been doing so. That's an interesting one, difficult to call. Then you've got Haaland. Then you've got Mbeumo. And then you've got Isak on 16 minutes there. And I've highlighted that because I'm now going to switch to the thing, and I'm going to change Isak to maybe 70 minutes. And Isak jumps up a little bit, and he jumps up to about 4th to about 5th. So he jumps up somewhat, and obviously Bowen's further down. Salah's a long way down, guys. And I think a lot of it's to do with net XG, Gabe. Your net XG doesn't like them.
What if can you change it?
Yeah. Takes him to 4th.
Yeah. Jumps up to 4th.
Yeah. So I think, look, on balance, Solanke, right, his past records are not great, but the fixtures haven't been great. But the fixture difficulty and the net XG align. They both like it. For game week predictions, expected goal involvements is top, big chances is top, and zonals is top. And metric, he is a distance ahead of 2nd with 92 to 86. So there you go. I'm bringing him in, and I'm going to captain him, boys.
What can
You're
I
gonna
just
do
ask
it.
you? What would it be if Bowen was 90 minutes?
If Bowen was 90 minutes, 80, so he doesn't go up that far. He's not hauled, you see. There's no holes.
He's got one double-digit
So that's
pull away from home,
pulled
I
it.
think.
Yeah, but when? In the last 6?
It wasn't in the because the metric obviously looks at the last 6 more primarily. So we were
Yeah.
saying the other week that if there's 2 hauls in the last 6, you're going to be like topping it like mad compared to anyone else. So
Yeah, but I mean, it
hasn't-
weighs it.
One hasn't
It
hauled
weights
since
it
game
as
week
well.
3.
There we go.
Gameweek 3.
So, yeah. So, as I say, I'll just take these. Whoops! I'll just take these
Or
back.
maybe
But
this
yeah,
is the
from
game
that
he
perspective.
hauls if he's fit.
I mean, I don't. I mean, as I say, Haaland can score against anyone on a given day. He'll probably still be captained quite highly. The trouble is, I don't. The first player I own on the metric without any transfers is Watkins, and I'm not sure I fancy him captaining him away at Spurs. Haaland, it would be the other player. If I knew he was fit, there's the other option. So it's Solanke or Haaland for me. I feel like it could be a bit of a Callum Wilson moment for me again. I think I am going to go for him. I'm going to go for Solanke. I'm going to captain him and hope for the best.
So you moved on from Watkins captaincy to Solanke. So on that note, in case there's a few questions I was trying to find here. It was from Michael Scott. He asked, "How do you rank Solanke versus Watkins?" Right. So
what this week?
As someone who captained Watkins last week. Yeah, I think just to buy, I suppose.
This week I would go Solanke over Watkins, and if I was looking at it from a perspective of over the next 10, it would be Watkins over Solanke.
Okay, interesting. So if it's long term, you'd still go Watkins. You just like
Yeah.
the fixture for Solanke.
Yeah.
Cool.
But if you
All
look
right,
at
let's keep
Solanke's
going.
numbers, right, you've got this week is his best numbers, and then you've got to wait till game week 17 before you get another very, very good. Whereas
Quite a long
you know
wait, isn't
Watkins 0.81, 0.78, 0.85, 0.75.
He's got
He is
3 or
still
4
good.
like that, yeah.
He is still good value. Watkins is still good value. I wouldn't be selling Watkins anytime soon.
He's risen a lot as well. So I think if I was going to get out, it would probably be in 2 game weeks time, maybe. So it wouldn't be now. It'd be like game week 15, 16.
Yeah.
But equally, you could argue that because of his nailedness in that sense, he is someone you want through this winter period because you just know that he will play. So there is also a case of just ignoring the fixtures and keeping him anyway. That he looks great in the metrics if you can forget about fixtures, right?
Yeah, I feel that third. I mean, Solanke would be my third forward, of course, and so I've got a lot of money in forwards. So from that perspective, you know, I look at it, and that's the way I've set myself up because I've got blooming marvelous bloody Nakamba. So I've set myself up that way, and I can't get rid of him. Although I might be able to get him to Palmer, but then that might create me a benching headache going forwards. But maybe that might work with Solanke, perhaps. Maybe I could rotate those around. I'll have to have a look at it. But from the perspective of it, there we go. There he is. Solanke's top. Look, Ward-Prowse second, Watkins third, Son fourth, and yeah. Again, I'll post it onto X. Twitter,
I love it.
Or whatever you want to call it.
Let's go to the Q&A so we can get out of here at a reasonable time. I know it's late for you right now. It must be getting close to midnight. So
it is,
thankfully,
yeah, for me.
so we'll keep it going and we'll get to the Q&A. But before that, if you're not in the mini league and you're on Discord, HUP69D, jump into the mini league. This is for everyone. And we're also going to do a quick look at the mini league this week. So we have the All or Nothing mini league top 10, Elron Cupboard 793, Gary Horwood 768, Connor Hunt 766, Dominic Benjamin 760, Blonde 758, Jonathan Cohen 758, FPL Planner 743, Mike Burke 743. We've got Ken Davies 740, and then we've got right there sneaking into top 10 with a green arrow this week. We've got Rubber Ducky himself, Quack Quack Squeak Squeak 735. So that's the top 10 overall standings, guys. So almost cracking 800 points for Elron. He's got a significant lead on second, so he's doing very well in this league. And just this week, I had to put myself in here. So the top 5 game week scores for game week 12, just a little pat on the back because I missed the review show. 93 points for Connor Hunt, though, on 93. So shout out to you. I think you're here live watching tonight, mate. I got 92 points last week. Gary got 89. FPLLens himself got 89 as well, and Mike Burke 88. So we were the top 5 scorers last week. But I think for now, we just thank all the YouTube members, all the Patreons, and we've started your questions, guys. There's about 29 questions started to go through now in the live Q&A. So please do go ahead and share any kind of questions you have, and we will cover them before we leave today. So thank you to all our super haulers, FPL Robbie, Greenback Golf, Daddy Bot, Harbour Boy, David Harrison, Zach, and FPL Discomfort. And then our haulers, Dread FPL, FPL Craig, Podner, Kevin Rose, C Hunt, Blonde, Escott is FPL Teacher, Donny FPL, Tom Gorsuch, Devinder Raj, Lindsay, FPL DG Boy, Akshay, Dom, Claire FPL Tursks, Catherine A, Harry Not Kane, Sebastian Koo, Benjamin Lockwood, FPL Rubber Ducky, Nick Khan, Big Mike, General Zod, Jack M. I think you're there twice, buddy. Antonis, FPL Planner, Jamie Baker, FPL Planner again. Okay, I think that one's you twice, but I do think Jack is 2 times on 2 different accounts. Brett M, Mark Bond, FPL Eric Grady, and Parag, our latest member today. Thank you for joining the show. Patreons, Elron, as we mentioned, topping the mini league. Congrats to you. Lucien, FPL California, Thingamabob, Brom Frost, and Mike Burke. Great to see everyone. But yeah, let's get to your questions. I think this is the
It's always good that the slides go wrong. It's always good that we get the slides wrong. I was rushing that one. You could tell, could you?
No. There's the Jack M is actually 2. I think I tried to.
No, but then I copied the others down again, didn't I?
Oh yeah.
So what we get? Let me start off while you're looking for proper questions. Let me just go through some of the noise in here, but it's all good. Yeah. It's good noise. It's good noise. We've got Carl with Bowen, Cash, Haaland, and White all flagged. Right? Yeah, wonderful. Like I said, more flags than the bloody United Nations. Tricky here wants us to do a song. Well, we might do one, but it'll be the end of the season. We'll have a think about it. You never know. I don't know if Gabe can sing. I certainly can't. And it may rain in the desert again if I do. So might not be a good idea. But a Spandau Ballet. Have you ever heard of Spandau Ballet, Gabe? Band? No, yeah. You need to have a look about it. Yeah, it's like through the FPL barricades. There we go. There's one of the songs. Through the barricades. There's an old one.
I've taken bar classes. I've done ballet bar fitness classes.
So we've got multi-live evil. All right. Solanke looks at a great buy, guys, but Mitoma to Mbumo looks inevitable. If you don't own him, it probably does, in my view. Right, here's the first question as such. Connor, selling Alvarez means you can't sell to Darwin next week. Is anyone are you contemplating Darwin, Gabe? Come on. I really want to know.
Not being able to sell to Darwin next week is a bonus. So you're adding a reason to sell Alvarez.
But we've got some interesting players coming up. Like we said, we've got Nkunku coming back, not too far away. We've got Isak coming back with Callum Wilson out for a while. So that forward area, Nima, it's going to get a bit tricky again, isn't it? You can't own them all.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've constantly been looking at Jesus as well, but he just hasn't been staying fit long enough for me to do it. With the fixtures the way they are, I might get him yet if I jump off Watkins. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Why don't you? How many have you got through?
I'll just keep going. I've got here Cal Valencia, Bowen replacements.
I love the speed.
Bowen replacements. Palm, Rowe, and Bumo. Gabe.
Bumo.
Yeah, I agree.
If those are the 2 options, just get the one that you want long term.
Same.
Yeah. Okay. Nkunku against Sheffield, Gabe. Chelsea fixture's going to get really good. How far away is he from fitness? I thought he was still a little bit away, and he's
no, he's training. He's
training.
He's training. I don't think he'll start. He'll probably be on the bench this weekend, but he's really close. Wait, when do Chelsea play? Hold on. Sheffield United game week 17. As soon as I think Nkunku is a player that he's coming straight into my team as soon as he's healthy, independently of fixtures or fixture difficulty or anything like that. He's going to.
He's your number one buy.
He's my number one buy as soon as he's healthy.
It's very interesting because you're going to have to sell someone like Watkins or someone like that for it, and that's a tough.
I think.
Haven't
Yeah,
owned
well, I
Watkins
don't
all
know. I
season.
would. I think I
Haven't
might
owned
watch.
Watkins all season.
I might hold back on that. Anyway, Colm saying about Salah doing well against Manchester City. Yeah, he has the habit of he can. I mean, he's another one in here. It's same with Haaland. He can score on any given day. Can Salah really?
Any given day. And for me personally, I don't place too much weight on historical record like that. I don't think Salah in the Mane Firmino days is the same as. So.
Yeah.
Adingra?
A simple question from Tricky MF. Adingra?
No Brighton for me. I'm not buying. If you have, maybe hold. If you have to hold, but no Brighton for me.
There's been some questions about Castagna from Colm and Sebastian, and Sebastian started with a question about Castagna as a fourth defender, but then Colm came back and said, "I'm not sure because Tete's back." I don't know enough about them really to be able, but what I would say is this is Fulham. Did you see Fulham's 5-week matchup? It was bloody awful. So I don't know that I would go there personally. Again, there's another question about Isak from Tricky as the only fit striker. How big a priority? How big a priority is Isak, guys? I would say Eddie Howe may manage his minutes. We've had this before with him, haven't we? Because he is a bit of a creaking gate, to say the least. What do you reckon?
Oh, can he? He doesn't have many options to manage his minutes.
Well, then he could break it. Then he could break him in half. That's the problem. This is the thing. He's coming back in again from another long-term injury. It's very difficult managing. It's a very tricky. It's a fine white line, isn't it? This.
Yeah. They're going to have to buy, I think, in the transfer window.
Apparently, they might be bringing Ronaldo back. Did you see? Because of the loan rules. Not again, please God. Andy Martin, we are officially I think that's a goat. It's not a sheep. It's a good job.
It's a goat.
Right. Anyway,
I'm glad you know the difference, Chris. Bloody hell. You win more than you think you're a sheep. If Nick was here, he'd be laughing trigger lips. All the sheeple out there. All of us who are similar teams. Shout out to him as well. But,
my bloody computer screen's the computer screen's about to switch off now. Just had to sort that out. Right, next one. Which goalkeeper do we want to bring in? My God. Have we any idea? K7, can you help him out?
Raya.
Certainly not Ariola.
Raya's the best goalkeeper, man. Raya. I'm so happy I brought Raya in on Wildcard this week. It's it doesn't. No, you don't get goalkeepers for a week or even for a fixture period. No. You get them basically. The fixtures don't matter because you have them for most of the season.
Absolutely. Inevitable sadness. Best Mitoma replacement. Bowen, Palmer on Mbeumo. I think we're all settled on Mbeumo, are we?
Yeah. If you heard Bowen was going to start, would you not get him for the fixture?
Yes.
Or is it just... I would still do it. If you knew that...
I still would go... Look, I don't want to keep making transfers. I mean, Mbeumo's top for the next...
I'm a Bowen owner who might be selling this week, so I can't be telling you to buy him, but yeah.
No.
I would actually punt on Kudus for one game week and then go Mbeumo.
Instead of going for Eze against Luton, you reckon?
If you've got if you're in a position to burn a transfer game,
or
but
if not, one of the two.
That's the thing. I just kind of feel off like going to Kudus. I think if I didn't have Bowen and I had Mitoma, maybe I go Mitoma to Kudus for a week. Take that punt there and then
you're going to be careful, right? Because I went 2 transfers last week where I could have gone 1 and I ended up going for Mitoma, and look what's happened now. Now I'm probably going to have to take a hit. I don't think you always need to force it. I think that those 1 week punts, do you really want to go 1 week punt unless you're quite comfortable with the rest of your team? I'm in a bit of a tricky situation now. Next one, True Fandala. Diaby or Palmer this game week, gents? For me, Diaby. Actually.
Agreed. Diaby. Yeah.
The next one, Colm's mentioned about, be careful. This is just a reminder. Not too many Man City and Brentford players with game week 18 in mind. Right, what else we got? Claire, starting both Martinelli and Visser this week. Would you, if you owned them, Nima?
It's
tricky, that one. Because the matchups aren't great, are they?
No, go Whistle to Solanke.
Guys, for who? Yeah, get Solanke. Go for him. She might already have him,
go.
Fair, but,
Go for it. There we go.
Co-
We got
Combe
now
had a
Tommy
question.
Yasu playing. Just one for you, mate. You can answer that one.
So does
Do you want to read it
Tomiyasu
out?
playing behind Saka help him or hinder him? No, I think Ben White definitely appeals to him more from an attacking point of view, like offering the overlaps. I think Tomiyasu's been playing better off the left this season, really, even though he was brought in mainly as a right back at the time. But he's very versatile, and I heard Bayern pushed heavy for him in the summer, and they want to try again in winter, but we've said no. They love the fact he can play left back, right back, can play centre back. So I'm like, shit, okay, this guy's like first 11 quality. He's flirting with being there, and it's tough because obviously that kind of makes both him, Zinchenko, all non-starters. So it's almost, that's why I was saying earlier, Saliba would be my like defensive transfer. If I didn't have Arsenal defense and I was selling a defender this week and I need to move forward, Arsenal's the only one I'm really genuinely, we're talking about being excited to invest in. Like if I'm going to be paying for Ait Nouri or like a Saliba, if I can go to Saliba, I'll go there. So jealous of those with double defense is my conclusion. And I don't think it necessarily helps Saka, but I think White will start. So I think Tomiyasu, you're not going to see him play right back often. And White had a bit of a kind of a knock. He'd been playing with injury. He had a bit of an illness. I think he's going to be pretty nailed on to play going forwards, White. So I think Tomiyasu will compete for that left back spot.
Double Arsenal defense for me is on the Cats for sure. I don't disagree with you. Right, hang on. Here's Andy Martin. Right, Andy Martin. So which one out? So I think he's talking about the 0-0 draw I predicted. There was that Fulham and Wolves. So which one out of Udogie, Cash, or Kilman would you play? Is Udogie even? He's still flagged. I own him.
Still a little.
I also own Watkins, so I would probably. I can't get rid of him. It's like a bloody. It's like a bloody cold. I can't get rid of him. So yeah, I think if I was Andy, I think I'd probably start Kilman. I'd go for it.
I'd go for the upside.
That's me.
Cash.
I'd be playing Cash, and it sounds like he's back in.
Maybe
training.
you're boring. Maybe I'm being a bit more. Maybe I'm being a bit. Maybe you're looking for an attacking return from the perspective of Cash. I don't think he'll keep a clean sheet, by the way.
This is a very different question from K7. It's tough for the quickfire section, but you can try. Has FPL become more aggressive at the front half of the season than the back end? Before we talk about sticking with the template,
transfers or just the way we play it.
Yeah, like the way you.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Think about it. Last season we were burning transfers. This season, there's like 8 players we want in midfield at any given time, and it's constantly changing, and we can never have all of them. It's like we're just constantly rotating, and like we're being more aggressive because of the injuries, you could say. Maybe all the injuries have forced us to keep selling players that we didn't plan to sell. There's been a lot more injuries this year than like any year before.
Yeah, you may be right. I think it's maybe circumstance which makes you feel that it's more aggressive. I mean, look, the only people who have been aggressive are the people who've sold Haaland. And some of them have really benefited from it. I'm miles behind someone in one of the mini leagues I'm in because he sold Haaland. You know, he's had Solanke for weeks. He's had no end of play. Honestly, no end of players. And quite frankly, it's ridiculous. I keep turning around to him and saying it's all going to go wrong. It's all going to go wrong, and it never does. So maybe that's a way of doing it. I think what we could safely say is there's more options this year. I think that's what we can say. Yeah,
for sure. Let's go for this one.
So Podna has a good observation. Sorry, hold on really quick. Podna says aggressive because of prices and non-template.
Which is just pretty much what I've just said. Pricing and template.
Not be a template, I think.
Yeah.
There's so many more viable picks in every position now. It's quite exciting.
And even, I mean, I did this prediction. You know where you look at how many points you would have scored with your initial starting team against your transfer team? I mean, I don't feel I've done very well with my transfers, and I'm still nearly 100 points up on where I would have been with my transfers.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. So you can clearly see that there was such a diverse starting point with respect to teams. There was so much options as we didn't think there was, but actually there was lots of options. So maybe it is. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe Podner's got it there.
I think so. Grady asked if your defense was Gabriel, Maguire, Gahey, Pau Torres, or Simicast with no transfers left, how would you convince yourself everything is okay? So, looking at those matches, I think it's all right, mate, Grady. I would just play. I would play Gahey, Gabriel, and Maguire. Like just play those 3. I would just play them. It's all good.
I would say to myself, look, Liverpool are second best with respect to defensive fixture. Tsimikas is nailed now because out of the blue because of the injury to Gomez. Happy days, play him, and he might get some attacking returns as well. You know, I'm playing Tsimikas every week till either his leg falls off or somebody else gets fit.
Grady, I'll tell you my defense to see how you feel. We both have Gabriel. I have Cash to your Pau Torres. I then have Lamperty in my 11 with Tsimikas and Taylor waiting on the bench. So I think I'm in a similar situation to you, and I think I'm fine. I might like sell Bowen and roll the other transfer and just play Tsimikas or Taylor. I honestly don't care. Like, I'd rather have 2 transfers going into that congestion. So I think you're okay, buddy. You got no transfers. Don't sweat it. Not worth a hit. Play those players. Not worth a hit. I don't think personally.
What I would say is when you look at the summary of NetXG and FDR, probably not. There aren't many likely clean sheets, right? So yeah, it doesn't look like a good quintet of defenders. Yours is definitely worse, and you're not okay, Nima. But that's your own delusion that you'll have to deal with.
Mine's shit too. Mine's really shit as well.
Grady,
so...
honestly, Grady, you're fine. There won't be many.
Yeah, he's in a way better shape.
Throw the best players in there. Yeah, he's in way better shape than you are.
K7 says Sterling versus Palmer.
That's interesting. That's a good question. Yeah,
I think Sterling. We're going to talk more about Sterling. We're going to be talking more about him.
I think in weeks to come, I mean, we might find that Sterling becomes a better pick. But right now, I think given the way that Palmer is, and it may be that Palmer might fit your structure, which Sterling's just that bit more expensive. So it's tricky, isn't it? That one. I think that's horses for courses, personally.
It's the gift thing. It's why I went Tsimikas over Trent, right? Like I can't be doing this when I see millions less. I say that, but I did burn over Trippier, and I saw how that ended. So it can also go the wrong way.
Yeah, this didn't escape me, this question. KK, what a mental captaincy table. James Ward-Prowse ahead of Haaland. It is, isn't it? It's completely mad. And the reason is, oddly enough, Liverpool have all of a sudden tightened up in defence. And they've been bloody crap in defence for such a long time. And now they've tightened up a bit. And then you combine that with, like you say, if you look at the numbers, Manchester City at home don't look too good, but then Gabe's already shot that down. So it's probably higher than it looks. It's probably higher than it looks. I don't know whether he's the best pick, though.
Cool. All right, I'm going to go to the last questions. Right. Only 1 or 2 left on the live, and then I've got a few Discord questions we'll go through, and I'll timestamp.
Really fast, yeah, really rough. Yeah.
Very fast. So these are just the last few. So Catherine asked, would you keep Ward-Prowse or sell? We said sell and then he hold, so I feel bad. I would be selling if Bowen's out. I'd keep if Bowen's in. That's 2 very different opinions. Any final yes or no's for you, Gabe? Keep Ward-Prowse or sell?
I'd keep him this week.
Yeah, keep 1 week, but I would be looking to sell for a more upside pick, to be honest. There's upside.
Lennox asks. So Lennox has got Watkins to Solanke to fund Gordon to Mbeumo next week. Gives an extra 1.2 million to strengthen squad over Christmas, and maybe get Watkins back game week 18 when the blank happens, and he's got great fixture then. So I'm just looking at the fixtures for Watkins now.
I would wait.
I'd like to get the next 2. Yeah, I guess I'd say, could you just roll and do both those free transfers next week? Because next week you might decide there's 2 different moves you want to make, or maybe you'll free up the money elsewhere because maybe you'll see a different priority. So I generally would like to roll if I could, Lennox, but I'm a bit more cautious in that sense. Like I'm only using the free transfer because I've got 2 and I can't roll, and I'm trying to roll again. So if you want to be more bullish, I would say go for it. I'm a bit more slow, so don't necessarily feel obliged. Gareth, first-time viewer, thanks for tuning in, buddy. Love the dog in the profile pick. Got Trippier, White, Cash, Tsimikas, Udogie, yellow flags, and games unsure of best 3 this week. So I think Trippier I'd absolutely be playing. White I'd be playing. And I'd probably play Cash as well. And then I would say White and Udogie is where my kind of debate would be. I'd still want to play Cash and Trippier. Those 2 I'd be playing regardless for me personally.
I own 3 of those.
From you?
I own 3 of those, and I have no option. I'm playing Trippier, Tsimikas, and one other, and Gabriel, I think. Saliba. So I think if I own this gang, if I own this gang, I would go with Trippier. I would probably play Cash, and I would play White.
Fair enough. So Udogie would be benched. Okay, cool. Let's go to the Discord ones because there's a handful there. I'm going to timestamp those 1 hour 58. So anyone from Discord who missed the live show wants to see that their question got answered.
1 hour 58. My God.
Yeah, we did 20 minutes of live Q&A, and then
It's a special show. It's a special occasion.
It's a special show. We're gonna give back, right?
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone who voted for us.
Okay.
So thank you guys, and do hit that like button if you've enjoyed the show. It's definitely going to be over 2 hours today, but hopefully not more than another 5 minutes to go. So very quickly here, just having a quick look at a few questions over the international break. So first one is from Claire FPL. She asks, "Don't know if I hold on to Trippier or move on with so many injuries in the Newcastle squad. What do you guys think?" I think I'd be.
It's crossed my mind. It has crossed my mind to sell him. Although now, if Shah's coming back, Botman is not a million miles away. I don't think, is he?
He's a bit more fluid, I guess.
We don't know.
Could be back soon, but we don't know.
Yeah, but Shah's back at least. I think I might hold him. I still like Newcastle long term, and he has such a lot of potential for attacking returns. Right now, I think I'd hold him.
Yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going because Claire also said she's going to roll her free transfer this week in the live chat. So I think she has gone off that idea and wants to potentially keep for 2.
Yeah.
So Harbour Boy wants some refresher at some point about what all the standard metrics mean. I think they're fair play to say to them.
A lot of those, just let you know. Yeah, but I think the point I did respond to him at the time. But what I would say is, there is, and this is for new viewers, when we're starting talking about a lot of the stuff which we've been talking about today, how we do it, there is some evergreen content in the YouTube channel where you'll be able to go and watch it, albeit it's a little bit old, and there's 1 or 2 bits which have probably changed a bit, but ultimately it'll give you a good feel for it. But I think, fair point, I think once we get out and the bloody adverts have come again on YouTube, by the way, I'm just watching it there, so hopefully they won't hear me. But once we get through the Christmas break, maybe we can probably look at some refreshers. If that works.
So we've got Kieran, FPL Discomfort. What the heck are we meant to do with Bowen now? Feels the wrong time to bring in Palmer and Mobuemo. Is 1 to 2 weeks early. I'm in a similar situation, mate. Let's just chat leading up to Saturday at the meets in London, and we can both do some crazy stuff. I'll captain a player in the 12:30 televised game. Good luck to you if you captain Archer, as you mentioned, but let's keep that discussion in the interest of time.
Gandy pick. Right, exactly. Come on. Any more?
Yeah, Sebastian Ku, -4, Mitoma to Bowen and Alvarez to Solanke. And if not a -4, which of those transfers do you prioritize? So
Alvarez to Solanke would be my. Alvarez to Solanke would be my.
You have to. With
that's the move out
as well.
Yeah, that's my move. That's my move.
But Mitoma's
out. Yeah,
Mitoma's
out.
Mitoma?
Yeah, but I'm going to have to move him as well. I'll have to move them both.
Huh? Right, but for Sebastian who's asking the question.
Oh, yeah, has he got? Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Mitoma's out, isn't he?
You'll probably have Archer or something, though, to play. For the 1
I don't know, but definitely transfer on the player that's not playing.
Look, Gabe's right. It's gone Gabe's right. It's gone midnight here, and I'm talking shit. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Gabe.
Sell the injured player.
It's 2 hours. Mariner starts decomposing.
I already have.
I think just in terms of the reason that Sebastian's considering selling Alvarez is that they also feel that his FPL point ability is decreasing and diluted as more of these City attackers come back, like Bernardo Silva.
Exactly. It's a great point. It's a great point.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Gareth says
their XG matchups have dropped, and there are so many people vying for it. And when we get into the real nitty gritty of Christmas, there'll be rotation too, for sure. He hasn't been rotated much yet, but he will be over Christmas, I bet.
So happy Thanksgiving from Grady, as we said. Cheers to Gareth, first-time viewer. Carl Valencia, good to see you, buddy. Great show. Ooh. A lot of people are thinking about Solanke as a third attacker off the back of the show, I think. But yeah, and Gareth also has memories of going to Grimsby as a kid and go to Scunthorpe to visit grandma. So happy birthday to me. Is that for you, Chris? Is it at midnight?
Yes.
Oh,
it's my birthday, yeah.
Live on air.
It's my birthday now. I'm live on the air, yeah.
Good that we stayed on for your birthday. We enjoy that gold win, guys. Best in Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for voting for us. We will be back with the next review show, I think, next week. And we've got a schedule. I think what we might do is put a community post up on YouTube with the schedule in the festive period. We now have 8 kind of game weeks in 35 days. It's a very exciting chance to turn around my season. I hope you all feel ready for the Christmas FPL fun. Thanks for everything. I cannot believe we won this award, but we've used it on the thumbnail. We've tweeted it out. We've loved all the messages and kind support. And yeah, congrats to all the other fellow finalists. Honestly, lots of incredible FPL content out there. And hopefully we can get more of these people onto the show. Yeah, so Podner says, wow, Chris is 60 now.
I tried to post something back and it gave me an error. I don't know if there's a problem with YouTube tonight. I think there is. There was one more question. Let's answer one more question. For Carlos Bambos, a birthday question. I'm feeling nice. Ward-Prowse to Eze this week, then Fernandez to Mbumo next game week. Would you do it, boys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Do it.
Okay,
Yeah,
there we go. And on that note, thank you very much for all the wonderful wishes. I can see them all in there. So, but I'm not quite sure how my name all of a sudden I've changed to Marina rather than Mariner. But there we go. Maybe not only have I got a year older, I've maybe had a bit of a change of heart about about how I associate myself. Yeah.
Another year wiser, Chris. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. And cheers for all the support. Let's go haul and get some points next week. Peace.